Before I forget. All rise. They were called Cortes. Judge, I believe have you already sworn her in?
No, thank you. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this call will be the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name?
Kristopher Love.
Ms. Cortes, I want to ask you a question. Are you guilty of the capital murder of Kendra Hatcher?
Yes, I am.
Is Kristopher Love guilty of the murder of Kendra Hatcher?
Yes, he is.
Is Brenda Delgado guilty of the murder of Kendra Hatcher?
Yes, she is.
All right. I want to talk to you a little bit about your life and where you grew up and kind of how you got involved in this offense.
Okay.
Let's talk about, first of all, I see you're in jail clothes. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that where you've been living since September of 2015?
Yes.
Or with the Dallas County Jail?
Yes.
Before that, where did you grow up?
In Oak Cliff. It's kind of like a rundown part of Dallas.
Okay. And what year did you go to high school?
Yes, I did.
What high school did you go to?
I went to 2 high schools. I went to Townview and I also went to A. Maceo Smith.
Which one did you graduate from?
A. Maceo Smith.
What year was that?
2010.
Did you go on to college?
I did take some college courses, but I dropped out.
Did you have a job at any point in time at a mall?
Yes.
Where did you work?
At Redbird Mall.
At some point in time, did you meet an individual by the name of Jennifer Calbro?
Yes.
How did you meet Jennifer Calbro?
I went to Maceo with her.
Y'all in the same grade?
No.
Was she older or younger?
Younger.
And how did y'all become friends?
Well, we went to school together, so we would constantly communicate with each other.
Now, sometime in 2015, you meet Brenda Delgado, is that right?
Yes, in August.
In August of 2015. Before that time, had you kept up since high school with Jennifer? Do you know her as Jennifer Calderon, Jennifer Escobar?
Jennifer Escobar is how I know her.
Had you kept up your friendship with Jennifer?
Off and on through Facebook, social media.
And at some point in time, did you also have a child?
Yes, I did.
What's your child's name?
His name is Ivan.
His name is what?
Ivan.
And back in 2015, in September, about how old was I?
He was 6 years old.
I want to direct your attention. You said that in September or August of 2015, you meet Brenda Delgado.
In August, yes.
How did you meet Brenda Delgado?
I met her through a mutual friend, which was Jennifer Escobar.
And under what circumstance did you meet?
Jennifer was living with Brenda at that time and invited me over to their apartment.
What were you going to do at her apartment?
We were going to take my son to go swim at the pool that Miss Brenda Delgado resided in.
And did y'all do that?
Yes.
Now, was Brenda Delgado there?
She arrived shortly after.
And did y'all hang out?
Yes, we did.
At some point in time, was there a trip with you and Jennifer?
Yes, and on the weekend of the 12th of August,
And where did y'all go?
we went to Port Aransas.
What's down in Puerto Rico?
It's close to Cortes
Why'd you go there?
because it was my aunt's birthday, and we were celebrating her birthday.
Just you and Jennifer went?
Me, Jennifer, and my son Ivan.
When y'all got back, did something happen between Jennifer and Brenda?
Yes, I was at work, and Jennifer and Brenda had a fallout.
Now, did you stay in contact with Brenda?
Yes, I did.
Did Jennifer know that, or was that something that y'all had even discussed?
We never even discussed it.
What kind of contact did you have with Brenda Delgado?
We would meet almost every day, and we would text each other on the phone.
Did y'all kind of hit it off right away?
Yes.
Now, how old were you at that time?
I was 23.
Do you know how old Brenda Delgado was?
Maybe early 30s.
She's older than
Yes.
What was going on in Brenda Delgado's life at that time?
She showed me pictures of Ricky and Kendra, and she was just telling me that she was envious of Kendra. She also told me that Ricky was her best friend.
So she had let you know that she had a best friend. Was that an ex-boyfriend of hers?
Yes, he was also an ex-boyfriend.
Is that how she would refer to him, as her ex?
Yes.
And she was letting you know that there was an individual out there by the name of Kendra Hatcher.
Yes.
And what did she say was Kendra Hatcher's role in as far as Ricky is concerned?
I just remember seeing pictures when they were in San Francisco via social media, and that they were together.
Will Brenda Delgado discuss Ricky and Kendra Hatcher to you?
Yes.
And what types of things was she talking about?
That she didn't like them together, that she wanted Ricky back.
And this stuff that you're saying that she saw on social media, where was she seeing that?
She had created a fake profile under the name of Stefan, and she had Kendra's page under that, and she was watching Kendra that way.
And through social media, is this a Facebook page?
Yes, Facebook.
Through that, she was able to see that Kendra and Ricky would take trips, and if they were posted on there, she'd be able to see it.
Yes.
At some point in time, was there a discussion about this situation, what she wanted to have done?
Yes.
What was the discussion?
She wanted to get rid of Kendra Hatcher
And why did she want to get rid of Kendra Hatcher?
because she was envious of her.
So, did she ask for any help, or what was your role in this?
She did ask for help. She asked if I knew anybody who could take care of it. And that's when I became a play member in it.
I'm sorry, did what?
That's how I became a play member in it.
And did you at some point in time start help planning this event?
Yes, I did.
How often do you think you and Brenda Delgado had discussions about doing something to Miss Hatcher?
Almost every day.
Was this in person that you were talking?
Yes.
Did you also have phone conversations?
No phone conversations.
Did you call her on the phone though, from time to time?
Yes.
Did y'all have text messages?
Yes.
Were there different plans on what to do?
Yes. there
What
were.
were some of the plans that you all had worked on?
One was to inject her with heroin. Another one was to inject her with a sedative. And the other was to kill her with a gun.
Now, was there discussions about trying to find someone to help y'all do this?
Yes.
Who was asking who about trying to find someone?
Brenda was asking me if I knew somebody because I came from like a rundown neighborhood.
You tell her that you thought you might be able to help her with that?
Yes, I did.
What steps did y'all take to try to find someone?
We would drive around. First, we would drive around and asking people if they would be able to help us with stuff, and they would say yes or no. And we felt like if they weren't creditable enough, we would just leave them hanging. And then one day, Kelly Ellis and Kristopher Love were at my mother's house,
Let me stop you there. Where does your mom live?
3104 Linfield Road, Dallas, Texas, 75216.
Permission to approach. You mentioned an individual by the name of Kelly and Kristopher Love. What's Kelly's last name?
Kelly Ellis, ELLIS.
I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibits 218
That's Kelly Ellis.
and 224.
That's Kristopher Love.
We'll offer State's Exhibits 218 and 224.
No objection.
Admitted?
Permission to publish.
You may.
State's Exhibits 218, that's who?
Kelly Ellis,
And 224.
Kristopher Love.
How did you know Kelly Ellis?
He was a person who lived next door to my mother's house
How long had you known Kelly Ellis for?
since 2011.
Were y'all friends?
Yes,
Was he still living next door to your mom when you met him this time in 2015?
no,
Was it uncommon for him to be over in that part of town?
no.
So you randomly go over to your mom's house and randomly Kelly Ellis is there.
Yes, with Kristopher Love.
Was there anyone else with Kristopher Love at the time?
His children.
And do y'all have a conversation with them at that time?
Yes, we do.
And what's that conversation about?
We asked them if they can help us in committing a murder.
Do y'all go someplace else to have more of a discussion about that?
Yes, we go to the Mandalay apartments.
And what's at the Mandalay Apartments?
The apartment where Kristopher Love used to reside in.
Did Kelly Ellis stay there as well, do you know? Or do you know that fact?
I don't know that for certain, but he was there often.
Was there also another individual there by the name of Angelica Gordon?
Yes.
Would y'all, did y'all talk further about what you wanted to do in this situation?
Yes, we did.
And what kind of discussions did y'all have?
We talk about methods of killing Kendra Hatcher, and everybody came to the agreement of shooting her would be the fastest way to do it.
Now, was Brenda involved in these discussions?
Yes, she was there.
Would you and Brenda talk some way that the other individuals couldn't understand what y'all were saying?
Yes, we would speak Spanish to each other.
Now, did anyone own a gun in the initial plannings of this?
Kelly Ellis had a revolver, but the hammer would jam, so that wouldn't work.
What was your plans for that?
We had to find another gun.
And how did y'all go about doing that?
Kristopher Love found the gun.
Did y'all take steps beforehand to get a gun?
Yes, we went to the academy to purchase a gun, but we figured that it would fall back on us, so we eliminated that decision.
Do you remember Kristopher Love telling you that or how did he let you know that he had a gun?
We went over to the apartment on Surrey Road, and he showed us that he had a 40 Smith & Wesson.
And he said Surrey Road. Is that the same place as the Mandalay Apartments?
Yes, it's on Surrey Road.
Now, was there just some discussions as to who was actually going to commit the actual murder?
Yes,
And who was going to do it?
it was between me or Kristopher Love.
Were you volunteering that you would do it?
Yes,
Now, in the end, who's the one that actually shot?
Kristopher Love actually shot Kendra Hatcher.
And why, in the end, jumping a little before, why is it that he did that and you were the driver?
Because he didn't know Dallas very well, and I did.
Now, going back to this planning, how were y'all going to, what about a vehicle? Did y'all talk about a vehicle?
Yes, we talked about multiple vehicles. We couldn't use the Lexus because it was under Brenda's name. So she borrowed her cousin's Mustang. It was silver with a black stripe. And We couldn't use that because it was come back to her again. So she said she started looking up vehicles online, and we found a Mitsubishi Galant online.
Is that a red Mitsubishi Galant?
Yes, a red one.
And what, that Mitsubishi Galant, did y'all make any steps to go and acquire that?
Yes, Brenda gave them a check for $1,000 and told them to hold the check. We drove around and we discussed how the car would drive in the actual planning of the murder.
Now, were you and were Kristopher Love just volunteering to do all of this stuff, or was there going to be some rewards for you and him?
There was going to be some rewards, yes.
Okay. You'll be compensated for your
Yes.
your efforts.
Yes.
Okay. And what was Kristopher Love supposed to get out of all of
He
this?
was supposed to get drugs and money out of it.
And what were you supposed to get out of it?
Just money.
And did she tell you how she was going to get these drugs and money and indicate to Kristopher Love and to you what her source of money and drugs were?
She told us that she was part of the cartel, but that we didn't really know because she was flaunting her money.
Because she was
doing what with her money?
Flaunting her money.
Did she have a lot of? Was she spreading a lot of money around? It seemed like.
Yes.
You already told us that she drives a Lexus.
Yes.
You said that she had access to a Mustang.
Yes.
Do you know whose Mustang that was?
Her cousin's
A nice looking.
Mustang.
Okay. She's going to trying to buy this Mitsubishi
Galant.
Galant. Later, you see her later in a BMW. Is that right?
Yes. She had a friend who owns like a car dealership, and she borrows the BMW from him.
Okay. Is she also spending money? Like, is it easy for her to spend money?
Yes, it is.
Now, you use the word we often.
Yes.
When you're talking about we, who are the people that you're talking about?
Me, Brenda Delgado, and Kristopher Love.
Now, was Kelly Ellis initially supposed to be involved in this?
Yes, he was, but they went to Subway without me one day, and he was.
Objection to hearsay, if that's where she's going.
Well, Judge, it's all co-conspirator testimony at this point in time.
But she doesn't have personal knowledge of what she's saying.
Let me ask you this. Was Kelly Ellis eventually pushed out of this plan?
Yes,
By whom?
by Brenda Delgado, me, and Kristopher Love,
And why?
because he was loud about this situation, meaning he would slip up and tell people what we were conspiring to do.
You didn't want to try to have as many loose ends as you could.
Right.
Now, when you found out that there's a Smith & Wesson that is going to be used, a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, did you take any steps to try to help that situation?
Yes, I went on social media and I found somebody selling firearms and parts for firearms, and I made a phone call to this person on social media and I asked if they had a silencer for a 40 Smith & Wesson.
Why did you want a silencer for a 40? Why did you want a silencer?
Because it wouldn't make any noise.
Now, did you know where you wanted to commit this capital murder?
We weren't really sure as to where. We were just trying to figure our way around.
What did you do in order to try to figure out the best place to commit this?
We started following Kendra Hatcher and her routine.
And whose idea was it to follow her around?
It was mine and Brenda's idea.
When there had been some talk at one point in time that there was a tracker device used on there were some allegations of that, but there wasn't a tracker used on Miss Hatcher.
No.
What about Ricky's phone? There's something able to be done with Ricky's phone?
Yes, Brenda had Ricky's iPhone account logged into another iPhone, and she was able to track him that way to see when they bought the plane tickets to Mexico, to San Francisco, and what was going on with the purchase on the house in San Francisco.
Okay, you could tell that he was looking at places to go when he moved to San Francisco.
Yes.
So you all knew that they were planning on taking a trip to Mexico on September 3rd.
Yes, Labor Day weekend.
And was that why, or does that have something to do with this all happening on September 2nd?
Yes, because after Labor Day weekend, they were moving back to San Francisco.
So where would you follow Dr. Hatcher?
We would follow her to her job and to the parking garage where she lived on Cedar Springs.
Did you ever go inside that parking garage before September 2nd?
Yes, we did. Me and Brenda did.
And would you be able? How would you get into that parking garage?
We would sit in the visitors parking place first, and then when another vehicle who had a parking pass would come in, we would go in.
And you follow that person right in?
Yes.
What about her job? What would you do over at her job?
We would park across the street at the Salvation Army, and we would look through Nikon binoculars, and we would see across the street to her job.
And when you're over there doing that, who's with you?
A few times Brenda was with me, and on the day of the murder, Chris was with me.
Did Kristopher Love ever go over to the Smile Zone before the day of the murder?
Yes, we went in his Sebring the night before as a practice run.
So let's talk about the day before.
Yes.
Okay, so this has been September 1st of 2015.
Yes.
Well, let's go. Yeah, so that day, did y'all do what you call a dry run?
Yes.
What did you do that day?
We drove from the apartments on the Mandalay to the job to see how far it was, and then back to the apartments on Cedar Spring.
Now, later on that evening of September, and you're saying that Kristopher Love was with you on that?
On the dry run, we went back to the apartments to drop Kristopher Love off, and we were in the BMW, and we decided to go to Brenda's place of job.
So she knew of a place that she worked at.
Yes,
And where was that located?
on Lover's Lane.
Kind of by Inwood Road?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of going to there?
We parked at the dental office where she worked, and we went into the dental office. We got gloves, syringes, disinfectant spray, and disinfectant wipes.
How did y'all get into the dental? Was it open?
No, she had it was already closed for the night. It was nighttime, and she had the key and the passcode to the dental office.
Did you go in with her?
Yes, I did.
And then, so the next morning, did y'all plan that the next day was the day that you all were going to do this?
Yes.
So jumping to September 2nd,
Yes.
what do y'all do that morning?
I get up that morning. I take my son to school, and then afterwards, me and Brenda go to the Mandalay apartments. We pick Kristopher Love up. We go to the Jack in the Box on 35 and Royal Lane. Kristopher Love gets off, has breakfast at the Jack in the Box, while me and Brenda go to Joe's place of job to exchange the BMW for the Jeep.
Now, you had met Joe the day before.
Yes.
He was coming to talk to you about a car, fix the
Yes.
car.
Yes.
And so now that day, did Joe know any of this plan? Was he part of it?
No, he was not part of any of the planning.
Why did you go to Joe's to get the Jeep and not just use the BMW?
Because the BMW, the transmission, when you step on the accelerator, it would like stutter.
You didn't feel comfortable driving that car then?
No, not if we were trying to get away.
So you go to Joe's, you get his Jeep,
Yes.
and then where do you go?
We go back to the Jack in the Box. We pick up Kristopher Love, and then we drop Brenda Delgado off at the library in Carrollton.
So there's like a public library in Carrollton,
Yes.
and you drop her off.
Yes.
Where do you go after that?
We go to Kendra's place of residence and we park across the street.
Why are you parking across the street there?
We were trying to follow her that day, and we were trying to get a head start.
And how long do you stay across the street about?
30 minutes to an hour.
And where do you go?
We go to her job, and we realized that the job wasn't open yet. It didn't open till later that day.
Where do you go then?
We go back to the apartments. We drop Kristopher Love off. I drop Kristopher Love off. And around 2:30, I wait for my son to get off of school. And I pick him up from school at 3 o'clock, him and my nephew, and I take him to the Sonic on Polka 20.
And are you just you and your son? Did you pick up your nephew too? Or
Yes, me and my son and my nephew I picked up.
when you pick them up, you go to the Sonic to get some,
Food for them to eat.
and then what do you do with your son?
I take him back to my grandmother's house, and I ask my grandmother to watch him. And then afterwards, I go and pick up Kristopher Love in the Jeep.
And then where do y'all go?
We go back to Kendra's place of job. We park across the street at the Salvation Army, and we wait for her to leave. As soon as she leaves, we follow her, but we lose her in traffic. So we beat her to the apartment complex where she stayed. And when we got there, we parked in the visitors parking, and we waited for somebody to come in. And when we did, we followed the vehicle into the gate. The part where Kendra normally parked was packed, so we had to park on the opposite side of the gate.
So normally she parks on that first floor area.
Yes.
Anytime had you been in there and seen her car in there before?
Yes.
How'd you know which car to look for?
Brenda had showed me that she drove a Toyota Camry. It was a white model.
And did you know what kind of car the boyfriend drove, Ricky drove?
No.
Okay. So the white car is normally parked just in that first area right when you get through the gate.
Yes.
Not the visitor parking outside the gate, but
No.
inside.
On the inside.
But you had gone inside there
Previously.
before.
Yes.
Had you ever gone inside her car?
Yes, I have.
And how did you get inside her car?
Brenda told me that the back driver's side door was open. And even though she would press the lock key, the door was rigged. So that's how I went inside.
And what did you do once you got inside? What were you doing after?
I went into the back seat and I felt underneath the driver's seat to see if we were going to apply a tracker there.
Okay, so there was some talk about putting a tracker in there, but
We decided not to.
okay. And that was some day before this.
That was weeks prior to the murder.
Okay. So this time when you get in on September 2nd, 2015, and you get inside that area, did you want to park in that area?
Yes, next to where she normally parked. But since it was full, I had to park on the other side, facing the entrance of the garage.
There's a down ramp. Did you go and park over there by that down ramp?
Yes,
The top part of it.
at the top part, yes.
And were you facing the gate?
Yes, I was facing the entrance of the parking garage
And why was that?
so that I could see when Kendra came in.
And who's with you at this time?
Kristopher Love
And where's Kristopher Love in the car?
in the back seat.
Now, does he have the gun with him?
Yes.
What are you wearing?
I am wearing a hoodie with a Day of the Dead mask and ribs on it. It's a black hoodie.
Okay, so a hoodie is basically a zip up.
Yes.
Okay, with a hood.
Yes.
And when you zip it up, how far does it zip up?
All the way to the top of the head. All the
It'll
way,
zip all the way up.
all the way up.
And then you said there's some sort of a Day of the Dead, is that like a skeleton kind of man?
Yes.
Okay. And what is Kristopher Love wearing?
He's wearing jeans and a black t-shirt.
Where did that black t-shirt come from, you know?
We previously bought it at the morning of the murder at the Stop and Go, it's like a little corner store right by the Mandalay Apartments.
And he's got the gun.
Yes.
What about the gloves?
He's got the gloves.
And what is he doing with the gun and the bullets and all that in the back?
He's
of the car?
cleaning the bullets and the clip and the gun.
Cleaning them?
Yes.
For what reason?
So that he would not leave fingerprints on them.
How long do you stay there in that parking spot?
Probably about 30 minutes to an hour.
And eventually what happens?
Miss Kendra comes in and she parks catty corner to where we park. And Kristopher Love gets off the vehicle through the driver's side in the back. and he exits the vehicle, closes the vehicle, and he approaches Kendra. And I didn't see him kill her, but I heard the shots fired. I backed out, and when I backed out, he ran into the Jeep with Kendra's belongings, her purse, and a Nikon camera.
Let me ask you about coming back. He left with the gun.
Yes,
He's wearing the gloves.
yes.
When he comes back, he's got a purse, a camera,
Oh, and the gun.
and the gun.
Yes,
Okay. The purse, the camera, and the gun. Why does he have those items?
because Brenda wanted it to make it look like a robbery gone bad.
What did the purse look like? Do you remember?
It was a Coach purse. It was tan with the white stripe.
And the camera?
It
What did that
was
look like?
a yellow box with the white top.
Where does he get in? Does he get in the driver's side or passenger side?
He gets in through the passenger side, but in the back seat, and he crouches down so that he won't be seen.
Now, which way do you exit? The way you came in, right then?
No, I had to go. I thought there was another exit, so I went down the ramp, and then I realized that there wasn't another exit, so I had to come back around and exit it the way I entered.
So you go down. So you're at P1, basically on the down ramp from P1 to P2.
Yes,
You go down to P2, and you have to kind of make a loop and come back
yes,
up. Were you able to see Dr. Hatcher?
yes. She was lying face up on the ground.
You come out, there's some cars in front of you.
Yes,
When you get out, do you see any other cars?
I see a white Maserati.
And then where did you go?
I went to the apartments, the Mandalay apartments,
Did you
to
go-
drop Chris off. No, we went to the abandoned house to clean
Defendant?
the abandoned house in Pleasant Grove to clean the Jeep from the fingerprints, and then afterwards I dropped him off at the apartments.
Okay, so tell me about the abandoned house. What do you do? Did you know this house beforehand?
No, we just drove around till I saw a house that was abandoned.
And what do you do when you get there?
We cleaned the Jeep. We wiped the fingerprints off the seats and the steering wheel, and disinfect it. And we take the paper tags off the Jeep, and Chris replaces the paper tags with the original tags.
Okay, so the paper tags, where did y'all get paper tags?
The night before the murder, me and Brenda were driving around in North Dallas, and we stopped at an apartment complex in North Dallas, and I took him off a blue Durango.
So you had put paper tags on the Jeep, and at the abandoned house you had to put the license plate back on.
Yes,
And who was doing that?
Chris was doing that.
Did you ever go through, or did Kristopher ever go through the purse?
Yes, on our way back from Pleasant Grove, we were on 20, and he went into Kendra's wallet and took the money out.
There was some money inside the wallet. What did the wallet look like?
It was a green Kate Spade wallet.
What happened to that money?
Chris took that money, and then she had credit cards and ID and stuff like that.
What happened with those? Did you keep those, or did he keep those?
We kept those. Me and Brenda did.
So, after you go to the abandoned house, where do you go?
We go to the apartments on Surrey Road, which are the Mandalay apartments. I drop Kristopher Love off, and I go back to my grandma's house, which is down the street, and I wait for Brenda to call me. She texts me from Joe's address, from Joe's phone, his address, and I beat them to his house.
And who do you have with you?
My son,
And what about Dr. Hatcher's items? Where are those?
in the back seat of the Jeep.
What happens when you get to when you get to Joe's?
I wait for Brenda and Joe to pull up, and they pull up behind me. And when we get there, I hand Joe my son, and he puts my son in the BMW. My son's asleep at the time. And me and Brenda huddle in the back seat of the Jeep at the belongings that we got.
You stand outside and kind of go through what's in the back.
Yes.
Do you remember her giving that you all had a phone conversation between you and Brenda?
Yes.
Before all this?
Yes. And I told her that it was done
Was that in English or in Spanish?
in Spanish.
When you get back into the BMW,
Yes.
and Joe stays with the Jeep.
Yes.
Then that next, where do you go next?
We go back to North Dallas and we trade the BMW for the Lexus.
And who did you trade that with?
Brenda's friend who loaned her the BMW had her Lexus.
Had you ever met that guy before?
Never.
Did you really meet him that night?
Not really. Just passed by.
So you meet him, was that at a restaurant, do you remember?
Glorious, I think.
So you meet with him, and you give the BMW back to him, and then you and your son and Brenda get in the Lexus.
Yes.
And where's Brenda's items at this time? Y'all move that over? I'm sorry, Kendra's items. Did you move those over at the same time?
Yes, we moved those over at the same time.
Where do you go then?
We go drive around Waxahachie towards Crystal Cove. We're trying to find a way to get rid of the Miss Kendra's belongings.
Okay, you just jumped to Waxahachie. Why are you in Waxahachie?
We figured it would be a secluded area because it's close to the lake. We can burn the belongings and then discard them in the lake.
Are you familiar with Waxahachie?
I've been there like once.
Did it seem like Brenda was familiar with Waxahachie?
Yes.
Now, when you went to the spot that you were going to do this, burning this stuff, why did you burn it there?
Because we were driving around looking for a place to burn the items, and we parked at an area, but there was a car right there. So we came back to Dallas to my grandmother's house, and that morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, Brenda burned the items inside the wallet and told me to hold on to the purse and the wallet.
So all the items that you had, other than the purse and the wallet connected with this, was being burned at your grandma's?
Yes, that included the jacket that I had, the shirt Kristopher Love had, Kendra's credit cards, ID, passport, stuff like that.
Now, at some point in time, did you think that there was a key missing or something along those lines?
Yes, I was looking for a key on my keychain, and I thought I left it in Joe's Jeep. So we go back to Joe's job that morning after we drop my son off at school, and we tell Joe that I might have dropped the key in the Jeep. So we go in there, and I start looking through the Jeep for my key. And we didn't find it in the Jeep because it was at the bottom of Brenda's car, and I didn't know where it was at.
And when you, did y'all go and eat lunch with Joe?
Yes, we went to North Dallas to a fish place, and we ate lunch there. And Brenda had bought hair dye for us to dye our hair. We went back to Brenda's apartment, and we kind of cleaned up a little bit, but not too much.
Cleaned up her apartment?
Yes.
Okay. Did y'all ever do the hair dye thing?
No.
Now, did you check the news out that next day or that night or anything like that?
It wasn't until later that night after, the day after the murder, we went around, me and Brenda went to get the drugs and money to pay Kristopher Love off because he had texted me about his payment.
So, did you ever deliver any money or drugs to Kristopher Love?
Yes, we delivered cocaine and kush, which is a form of weed, and money as well.
And do you know how much he got or what the total amounts were?
I wasn't fully aware about the total amount of cash, but we spent like $600 on the weed and like $300 on cocaine.
And then there was some amount of cash that you got as well.
Yes.
Did you get paid for this?
Yes, I did.
What did you get?
I got $500.
And who paid you?
Brenda did.
And who paid for the cocaine, the marijuana, and gave the money to?
Brenda did.
And that was in exchange for committing this murder of Kendra Hatcher.
Yes.
Now, at some point in time, were you contacted by the police?
Yes. And they asked if they want to come speak with me. And I said, sure, that's fine, I'll come speak with you. And I was interrogated by the police. And at first I was not upright, and I didn't tell them the whole truth because I didn't know what to say and what not to say.
Okay. Now, did y'all think this was going to be as big of a deal as it turned out to be?
No, we did not.
Did you think you were going to get caught?
I'm pretty sure eventually we're going to get caught.
But did you think it when were you planning to not get caught?
Yes, Brenda told me that she was going to go to Mexico after the offense was committed, and I didn't have a backup plan, so yeah.
Commissioner approach. Show us marked the state's exhibits 115 and 192. You recognize these?
That's Brenda's Lexus, that's Chris's Sebring.
Okay. Law for state's exhibits 115 and 192.
No objection.
Admitted.
Commissioner published. State's exhibit 115, that's the Lexus. That's Brenda's Lexus. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
State's exhibit 192, that's Kristopher Love Sebring.
Yes.
And had you ever been in that Sebring before?
Yes, I have.
How did you get in that Sebring before?
The night before, we did a dry run in the Sebring.
Okay, so that day that you were talking about that you did a practice run or a dry run, that was in that Sebring, is that right?
Yes.
State's exhibit number 40,
That's the parking garage.
that's the parking garage?
Yes.
This is already in evidence. Now that's that first floor area of the parking garage, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that where you said that you would like to generally park?
Yes.
In that area, do you see a man in a blue shirt there?
Yes.
And then there's a row of cars there, and there's another row of cars
Yes.
where he's facing, is that
And
right?
then there's a fence afterwards.
The gate
Yes.
that you'd have to get through, is that
Yes.
right? Okay. Now, can you see on this, generally, where would you have parked on State's Exhibit number 40?
Usually like between the first, this middle row and that row right there.
Okay, and then on the day of this, where did you have to park?
After both those rows.
Okay, do you see a GMC up there? A truck? Right there.
Yes.
Okay, were you kind of behind that?
Yes, I was.
Okay. I'll show you what's marked in State's Exhibit number 70. Now, if you look at State's Exhibit number 70 here, let me try to. We've already been told that if you came in this way here and then turned down, that's a down ramp.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And you see that here's Mrs. Hatcher's, Dr. Hatcher's car, and that's where her body was found.
Yes.
Now, there's an open spot right there.
Yes.
What's significant about that open spot?
We parked, me and Kristopher Love parked right there and waited for Miss Kendra Hatcher to come into the parking garage.
We've seen these pictures. State's Exhibit numbers 29, 28, and 27.
Yes.
Is that the Jeep you were driving that day?
Yes.
Is that you in that driver's seat?
Yes.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibits 24 and 25. Do you recognize these pictures from that parking garage?
Yes.
Is this depicting the you and this Jeep across the street?
Yes, earlier that day.
Law for State's Exhibits 24 and 25.
No objection.
Admitted.
And you had told us that earlier that day that you had parked across the street from Ms. Hatcher's apartment. Is that right?
Correct.
Permission published.
You may.
State's Exhibit number 24. You see that Jeep parked over there across the street.
That's where I parked.
And 25 is a close-up of that.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And that's at 11:45
And-
a.m. on September 2nd.
Yes.
State's exhibit number 30.
That's the white Maserati right there.
Okay.
And the Jeep is right there.
We'll offer State's exhibit number 30.
No objection.
Admitted.
We've seen this video. Judge me. Please turn off the lights. And this looks. This is a still from that video. Is that right?
Correct.
And you mentioned this white Maserati.
Yes.
And then when we go close up in, there's some taillights showing there. Is that you using the car and put it in reverse? At that
Yes.
time? And you've told us about some locations in Dallas.
Yes.
So here is State's Exhibits 4 and 5. Is this Miss Hatcher's
Yeah, the parking garage right here.
right there in a close-up of it?
Yes.
Heard about State's Exhibit number 76 and 77, which is where she worked.
Yes. And we would park across the street right here at the Salvation Army.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 88. Is that the Jack in the Box?
Yes. And Joe's working place is like right
I'm
here.
sorry, I can't hear you.
Joe's job is right behind here by that gas station.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit number 89. Does this show all of those points of interest? We have the Mandalay Palms down here, the Gables, Smile Zone, and Jack in the Box.
Yes.
We'll offer State's Exhibit number 89. I believe all the rest of these are already in there.
No objection.
Admitted.
Permission to publish. Okay, looking at State's Exhibit number 89, we have down here is the Mandalay Apartments or Mandalay Palms or Bay or whatever they are down here. Is that
Yes.
right?
On Surrey Road.
On Surrey Road. Up here is the Gables. That's Miss Dr. Hatcher's apartment.
Correct.
Over here in the Irving area is Smile Zone,
Yes.
and then up on the top here is Jack in the Box.
Yes.
And we talked about her her job here on State's Exhibit number 77. Okay, if she works up here at the Smile Zone, hang on, let me get a better. Right in there, right? She
Yes.
works at the Smile Zone there.
Yes.
You said there's something across the street down in this area. What is that down there?
That's the Salvation Army.
And would you park down in that in the Salvation Army?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you would use something in order to see her better from there. Is that right?
Yes. The Nikon binoculars.
And I think what?
The Nikon binoculars.
Let me show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 135. You recognize these?
Yes.
What is that?
The Nikon binoculars that we use.
We'll offer State's Exhibit number 135.
No objection.
So you'd sit across that Brawweiler there in one of these vehicles, Brenda's vehicle, someone's vehicle, and use these binoculars to look for Dr. Kendra Hatcher. Is that right?
Correct.
You had talked about a Mitsubishi Galant that you all were looking to purchase, a red one. Is that right?
Correct.
Let me show you State's Exhibit number 113. Is that a picture or the screenshot of that Mitsubishi Galant you all were looking at?
Yes.
You had talked about going to Sonic with your son and buying some food. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 106. Is that a receipt from the Sonic?
Yes, and I took my son and my nephew there.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibits 109 and 110. Are these pictures that you took?
Yes, that was the day after the murder.
Okay. We'll offer State's Exhibits 106, 109, 110, 113. 106 is already in. Sorry, Judge.
No objection to State's Exhibits 110, 113, and 109.
Permission to publish?
106,
106 is already in, Judge. I'm sorry.
admitted.
We talked about you going to Sonic to get some corn dogs and looks like a small high-seat punch.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
That looks like at 353.
Yes.
This is State's Exhibit 106. Is that right? That's a copy of that receipt.
Yes.
Talked about the next day, or beforehand, you had talked about getting a Mitsubishi Galant.
Yes.
Show you State's Exhibit number 113. Is that Galant that you all had done some research on and thought about buying?
Yes.
Did you actually go and test drive that car?
Yes, we did. Me and Brenda did.
You and Brenda did?
Yes.
And she put some money down. What did you tell them that was for?
She said it was for her brother. He was in college, and to hold the check.
State's Exhibit number 109. Is that a picture, a selfie that you took?
Yes, that I took.
And that's from the following day?
Yes, we were on the freeway.
And who's driving?
Brenda is.
And what car are you in?
We are in the Lexus.
And at that same time, did you take a picture of State's Exhibit 110?
Yes,
And what is that a picture of?
the money that she gave me.
State's Exhibit 167. What is that a picture of?
The Nikon camera.
That's the camera box that Kristopher Love took out of the car
Yes.
when he came back from this.
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 91. Remember we showed you a video one time before of being at Joe's house changing the cars.
Yes, after the murder.
That's the State's Exhibit number 91.
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 111. You said that there was a time when you were buying a silencer or trying to locate a silencer.
Correct.
Is that what's depicted in State's Exhibit 111?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 111, State's Exhibit 91 is off.
No objection.
Admitted.
State's permission published.
Right.
So State's Exhibit number 67, it's already been in evidence. That's the camera box that Kristopher Love came back with that night. Is that right?
Correct.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 91. So what we're looking at here is this the looking across the street at Joe's house? Is that right?
Yes.
So this is from the porch from a neighbor's house. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Shooting across. And we can see a vehicle pull up right there.
Yes.
Your Honor, objection to leading his own witness.
Did you see something pull up there?
There is a Jeep pulling up.
And who's in that Jeep?
I am with my son.
And how did you know to be at that location?
Brenda texted me from Joe's phone, his address to my phone. And
did you meet them there?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so this is at September 2nd, 2015 at 21:15:50. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. You see, you can see a figure get out and move there. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's who?
Me.
And what are you doing at this time?
I'm gathering the stuff in the back seat and I'm moving it to one side.
I'm going to move this forward a little bit. Now, do you see anything happening behind you?
Yes.
What?
Joe and Brenda are pulling up in the BMW.
We're to look at the screen we're talking about right there. You see we're at 9:2:15? It's
Yeah.
right above the 9. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, there's a figure moving towards you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who is that?
Joe, and then I'm going to give him my son because my son was asleep.
You can see, were you able to see anything on the other side of your vehicle?
Not really.
Okay. Now, what's happening now?
Brenda's coming around this other side.
To where you are?
Yes.
So who's at the back door now?
It's me and Brenda.
Right there at 21:19, and I guess it'll be 05 because it just happened right before this. You can see a movement happen. What is that movement?
Brenda's getting Kendra's purse and putting it over her shoulder.
Did you have a purse that day?
No.
Is that the only bag that's in the back seat?
No, the other bag with the sweater and the shirt that Kristopher Love had was in there.
Was that the only bag that had a strap to it?
Kendra's purse was the only bag that had a strap to it.
Are y'all discussing what happened earlier that day?
Yes.
Are you feeling you're in?
Yes.
Is this the first time you had a conversation with her about it?
Yes.
Who's approaching now?
Joas.
Who is he hugging?
He's hugging me and swinging me in a circle.
Is that him swinging you there now?
Yes.
So the times when you were having conversations with Brenda about this, is Joe back over putting your kid in the car?
Yes, he is.
And then who's driving the Jeep there?
Joe's driving it into his house, and me and Brenda get into the BMW.
And is, I'm going to fast forward to the end here, 22, 21, 22, 20.
That's
Is that y'all leaving?
yes.
And then some days prior to this, you said that Kristopher Love had informed you that you had that he had a certain type of weapon.
Yes, a 40 Smith & Wesson.
And you had told the jury about how you made a phone call to try to acquire a silencer for that.
Yes.
Is that your voice?
Yes, that's my voice.
Did you take that video?
No.
So you say yes, a 40?
Yes.
So there's a question. So this, it appears that this is a snippet of your conversation.
Yes.
And would it be that someone had asked you a question and you're answering the question?
Yes.
Now, Judge, and when you first get caught and you start talking to police, they never asked you about this silencer for a 40 thing, did they?
No.
Who was the first person to ask you about that?
You did.
Okay. They were trying to figure this out initially, is that right?
Correct.
And they were on to you.
Yes.
Did you tell them the truth?
No.
Did you lie?
Yes.
Did you lie over and over and over again?
Yes.
Okay. About every time you talk to Detective Barnes or any of the detectives in this deal, were those a lot of that fabrications?
Yes.
Why?
Because I didn't know what to tell them and what not to tell them.
Were you trying to get out of this?
I was trying to deflect attention from me.
When did you finally come around to telling us the truth?
After my mother passed, we met
When was that? When did your mother pass?
in November 2017.
So even you and I and Mr. Brooks and some of our team had met with you one time, and you gave us some version of what happened.
Correct.
That was pretty early on in our life of this case. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then about a year later, we all sit down again,
Yes.
and your mother's passed,
Yes.
and we inform you that we've looked at everything, and we're going to know when you lie and when you don't lie.
Right.
And at that point in time, you tell us what
Everything. Everything to the T.
Now, when you told us everything to the T, did you have a deal in place at that time?
Not at that time. It wasn't until afterwards.
And we told you that we were looking for some truth from you.
Yes.
And how many times have I told you that all I want to hear from you is the truth?
Over and over again.
And when after we sat down and talked to you again, and confirmed some of the other things that we had questions about with you,
Yes,
you entered the first half of a deal for you. Is that right?
that's correct.
And what is your deal?
I testified at Kristopher Love's and Brenda Delgado's trial, and I get a guilty plea for 35 years.
For 35 years.
Yes,
So you get you will be guilty of murder, which you pled guilty to a murder,
yes,
and you've done the first half of that in front of this judge. Is that right?
yes,
And ultimately, it's that if you don't tell the truth, that thing can go away.
Yes.
If we find that you're lying to us, if we were able to confirm that what you're telling us is not truthful, you understand the consequences of that.
yes, I will possibly face the death penalty.
Now, do you know that after you had the last conversation with when was the last time you talked to Brenda Delgado?
The day after the murder.
I'll pass witness.
Mr. Bush.
Right.
You going out there? Or
Approach the bench. Ms. Cortez, just moments ago, let me take you back just a little bit. He asked you when the police started talking to him, and he asked you about telling the truth when the police had interviewed you. And you said you did not tell the whole truth. Do you recall that?
Yes,
Was that a truthful statement?
yes, I did not tell the whole truth.
And just moments ago, though, he asked, you ultimately got a deal for a 35-year sentence based upon testifying in both Kristopher Love's trial as well as testifying in this trial, correct?
Correct.
And that if you're not truthful, you could lose that deal, correct?
Yes,
All right. How old are you today?
I'm 27.
All right, 27. You've got enough common sense, I would assume, that you understand that if the, quote, truth that you tell in this trial does not aid or assist the prosecution, then you have nothing to offer them. True?
Yes.
Is it also true that, to put it kind of in street vernacular, they had you?
Rephrase the question.
And I don't mean to be confusing, but the bottom line is, just so we're clear, you've been represented by Mr. Ashford, George Ashford, who's seated just a few feet behind me.
Yes.
Since pretty much the beginning of this, right?
Yes.
All right, he is a very experienced lawyer, correct?
Yes.
He's been around a while, correct?
Yes.
He's handled big cases before, correct?
Yes.
Let's go back in time. You understood that the police and the prosecution, they had a case on you, correct?
Correct.
Well, I'm not, and if you don't understand the question, I do not mean to confuse you.
Okay.
In other words, they had you twisted around into so many different stories. If I take you back, when Detective Barnes first interviewed you, I mean, he pretty much started tearing you up within about 5 or 10 minutes, correct?
Yes.
All right. At some point, they had overwhelming evidence of your involvement in the murder of Dr. Hatcher, correct?
Yes.
If you had said, you know what, I don't want to cooperate, I'm not going to tell them this stuff, then you understood from your perspective that they could readily prove to a jury, they would just assemble a different jury and they would convict you, correct?
I'm not sure. I don't understand your question.
Well, I'm asking, you understood that they didn't need you.
Yes, I did understand that.
Okay. That's what I mean. And I mean that in all sincerity. If I ask you something you just don't understand, you tell me and I'll do my best to.
Okay.
All right? But you understood, you're sitting there, you're in jail, you've got a lawyer, he's a good lawyer, and there's a deal to be made and you don't have a case, so you really need to cut a deal, correct?
Correct.
And the stakes could not be higher. True?
True.
In other words, when we say capital murder, the whole word capital means you can get capital punishment, correct?
Yes.
What is capital punishment?
The death penalty.
The death penalty. And you can get life without parole, correct?
Yes.
So you understood at some point early in this process that you could potentially be facing the death penalty.
Yes.
And anything in between.
Yes.
So when the state of Texas has more or less has its howitzers trained, they've got everything on you, don't they? I mean, they could hit you with everything. There's no limit to what they could do. Correct?
Correct.
I mean, the sky's the limit. Life without parole, death penalty. That's what's at stake, correct?
Correct.
Now, if we go back to Mr. Love's trial. You testified in that trial, correct?
Yes.
In that trial, is it also, as I asked you about, did they have a case on you with or without your confession? Is it also true that the state of Texas made it clear to you that they had a case on Kristopher Love?
Yes.
Did they make it clear to you? And very specifically, did the lead prosecutor, Mr. Brooks, tell you, we don't need you
Yes.
to get, well, you got to let me finish, but just for the court report. We don't need you to get Kristopher Love, to get a conviction in Kristopher Love. We've got him. Didn't they make that clear to you?
Yes.
So they had you, they had Kristopher, but part of your deal is you have to also testify against Brenda Delgado, correct?
Yes.
Now, you understood at least many aspects of the overwhelming evidence they had against Mr. Love, correct?
Yes.
Most specifically, two. Number one, they found his gun in his car, correct?
Yes.
They also had him on tape talking about that gun and whether he should have gotten rid of that gun, correct?
Yes.
So in terms of the evidence that the state had against Mr. Love, they had him nailed shut, correct?
Correct.
Going back to the time when all this happened, what kind of car were you driving?
Mazda.
And at the time when all this is happening, you were in fact truly having car issues, were you not?
Yes.
All right, going back, you've been interviewed numerous times by the police and prosecutors in the last almost 4 years, true?
Yes.
All right. Is it, among other things, true that you said you never went into that garage?
Rephrase your question.
Is it true, I'll take you back to the very beginning, that you specifically told Detective Barnes that you never went into that garage?
Yes, it's true that I told him that.
And that was a lie, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
You said that you told Detective Barnes that you were going to go to the park to take your son, Clyde, well, you didn't name it, but let me back up. The park is Clyde Warren Park, correct?
Yes.
Did you tell Detective Barnes that you intended to take your son there?
Yes.
That was a lie, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Definitely would approach.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take an early recess for lunch break. It's 11:30. If you'll be back in the jury room at 12:45, please.
All rise.
If I can see lawyers and please. Of course, stand in recess.
I'll do the U.S.
Okay.
Have a seat, sit in on it.
He told me. Okay, I'll be right back. What I'd like to do is it's all day. We break. They're breaking. You guys text out the photo. Okay?
I gave you this for, and then follow with the summary. All right, spell Maserati.
Maserati.
I think I turned off the one on the page.
Maserati.
Yep.
Thank you.
And the other name is
still with?